Welcome back. This is part 2 of my interview with Amy, recorded on location last September. In part 1, we explored the long and often brutal history of Dudley Castle and the people who once walked its halls and beautiful grounds. In this episode, we hear about more experiences, from strange encounters and ongoing activity to the moments that make even seasoned investigators stop and take notice. We dig deeper into the ghosts and legends most closely associated with the castle and the phenomena that continues to be reported by staff and visitors alike. Now, if part 1 set the scene, part 2 is where the hauntings truly begin.
During the fire in 1750, now there's lots of conspiracy theories as to why that fire happened.
Okay.
One of them is that there was flour being stored too close to open fires.
Yeah.
And combusted, set the place alight. Another theory was it was coin forgers who had got in at the bottom end of the castle.
Yeah.
And they were using the pantry fireplace to smelt down metal to make coinage.
Wow, okay.
Okay, that's my theory, and I'll tell you why. Because after the fire in the family had left the castle. They'd gone to Himley Hall. They were living at Himley Hall. They'd rented out parts of the castle to local people.
Yeah.
Rooms were left. There was no sort of maintenance left up here. They were just letting you could come and walk through anytime you wanted.
So there was no security or nothing like that? No.
These coin forgers, they reckon, got in. Also, there was a guy known locally as Castle Jacob. And Castle Jacob was actually a hermit or a tramp.
Yeah.
And he was well known for being in and around the castle. It turns out he was actually using a tunnel from underneath the gates, the Warden's Arch, that run into the little round building.
Right, okay.
In the corner of the sandpit, the wood, what they call the East Watch Tower. He was using that to come and go.
Yeah.
He was actually living there for 5 years with nobody knowing he was there, and he set up a little cobbling business. He'd go down into the town, pick people's shoes up, take them back, mend them, take them back, and get payment for it.
And nobody knew?
Nobody knew. The other theory was he was actually part of this
the coin plot.
Plot. So the fire happened. Nobody knew why the fire happened. It was seen 8 miles away in the middle on the 24th of July. It was seen 8 miles away in the centre of Birmingham.
Wow.
Massive fire. Molten lead in the roof. The lead run down. You'll see the black marking under the chapel window when we go outside.
Yeah, you'll have to show me that.
And that is a scar of the fire. So the whole area it looked like a volcano going up.
Wow.
Nobody came up to put the fire out.
They just let it burn?
Yeah, because there was a rumour gunpowder was being stored up here. You ain't going to come if there's gunpowder. So it was actually put out by the rain 3 days later. It burned for 3 days and 3 nights. And that's recorded in the local parish registers. Earl of Dudley was just like, oh, well, it's burned down, let's leave it, it's okay, whatever. And then about 34 years later, in 1784, he just sort of suddenly decided he wanted to do a bit of a clean-up. So he sent his men up here, and they discovered a skeleton in the kitchen area. Around this skeleton was crucibles and base metal. which proves the coin forge theory. And there is an article in the Burroughs Worcester Journal in November 1784 talking about this. Talking about the skeleton, talking about the base metal in the crucibles.
So all of this was really found? The skeleton was really found and it's documented?
It's documented. It is said that the Earl of Dudley kept the skeleton because they were Georgian, they were weird, as I told you earlier. They kept the skeleton as a souvenir of the fire.
Okay.
So he never was buried. And we have quite an angry spirit that can push, prod and poke, and he gets really close to you. I've experienced it. It stinks. It's like whiskey and body odour mixed together. It gets
my God.
And when I was doing ghost nights back in the day, I used to say there is a particular smell. You will smell it. I'm not going to tell you what it is, and people would smell it.
And they would confirm to you what I'm getting that. Yeah.
And he's known to push and prod and poke people. I mean, I was sent up for a first aid in November. I mean, it was dead. There was nobody here. Pardon the pun. There was nobody here. A lady was walking through Castle Creatures and said she was pushed over. There was nobody else in there.
So you're talking big poltergeist activity here.
He's known to. We think mediums have picked up on him and said he is angry. He is very angry because he never got a Christian burial that he deserved. He thought he deserved.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened to the skeleton.
I was just about to ask.
After the Earl of Dudley took it, we haven't a clue what happened to it.
That is absolutely chilling. Investigations. Countless investigations here. Has there been any compelling evidence of the paranormal in the sense of EVPs, maybe?
EVPs are one of my favourite things ever, because there's sometimes when you get the intelligent answers, when you're asking questions, it's recorded and then you play it back and it's giving an intelligent answer.
And you've heard these?
I've heard that. I mean, I was doing a ghost. It was during COVID actually, and there was only 6 of us. And it was Jane Harris, Help My House is Haunted. She was here, and a couple of others. And they were under a group called HD Paranormal at the time, and they did some EVPs down in the creatures. And one of the hosts, Craig, said, "Do you know anybody here?" And as clear as day, the name Amy.
Oh.
Yeah, clear as day. Come back. They recorded it, and it was like Amy. I was like, oh my God.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So EVPs are one of my favourite. We did a all lady. It was all ladies in here. Seance. Well, a seance. It was like a watch and wait.
Yeah.
And it was just females. The males had gone out. And we did EVPs, and there was males' voices being picked up.
Yeah.
And they were saying names like James and things like that, and names that you couldn't associate with the castle.
Yeah.
So yeah, EVPs are one of my favourite things, an EVP.
Again, you've been here for how long, Amy?
23 years now.
23 years. You've seen people come and go. You've obviously got very close friends here. What's the most chilling, would you say, an unexplainable experience that you or any other member of the castle and the zoological team, past or present, that they've ever had? What's the most chilling thing that you've ever heard?
My most chilling one was back in the 60s, 70s, they used to challenge young keepers to spend the night in here. In here. I mean, this room doesn't bother me. I can sit quite comfortably in here, 3 o'clock in the morning, on my own, in the dark. It doesn't bother me.
And this is the chapel under Croft.
Yeah.
And this, as you said to me, this was probably a morgue, if you like, a crypt. Yeah.
Yeah. But back in the day, this used to be the aquarium.
In here?
Yeah, it was it was part of the aquarium. And things used to happen in here. Things like doors would be open. Keepers would go in, lock the doors, go home, come back, and the doors would be open. When they come in, the front door would be open or something like that. lots of cold spots, lots of hot spots, things like that. Things they couldn't explain, filters turned off when they shouldn't have been, and things like that. And they used to challenge young keepers when this is local law, that when the new keepers started, they used to challenge them to stay here in this room. 3 keepers, young keepers, decided to take up the challenge.
Right, okay.
Next morning, they were found in the barn down at the back, sleeping on the hay bales. So the then curator of the zoo goes, "What the hell are you doing on the you were supposed to be sleeping in the undercroft." And they went, "We were sleeping in the undercroft until we heard all the chanting coming from the back of the room. We went outside and there was a figure walking down the keep steps." So then we decided to come and sleep down here.
Again, chanting, so that ties in again with monks.
Oh, that's a well-known story, the chanting.
That's fascinating.
We've had reenactors who have stayed in this building complaining that they've been kept up all night by the chanting coming from the back.
Wow.
But like I say, that would have been the way into this room.
You mentioned that.
Straight down and in through the back.
Do you believe that the hauntings are residual energy from the past, or intelligent entities, or something else entirely? And we are going to lead into something that we were chatting about a little earlier
I think them both.
Okay.
I mean, the little girl that I've seen, I explained.
Would you go into that sighting for us?
I have spoken about this on another podcast, but I started doing ghost nights about 23 years ago, and one of the very first I did was with a group called Fright Nights.
Okay.
And there was about 7 of us in this room.
Can I just say, and I'm not doing this because the microphones are switched on, and I'm not doing this because we're doing a podcast, but I have just gone absolutely freezing cold right here. I'm not joking, I don't normally get this, but I'm serious. I've just pulled my sleeves down.
It's because I'm talking about them.
I don't know, but I'm not usually affected by the cold at all.
If you're in this room, the more you can be talking like we're talking, you're ignoring them.
You're hearing noise. I'm just moving over to grab something. This is kind of live as we're doing it. We're not going to cut. I'm just going to get this right out now because that's a bit strange. That was proper
If you
cold.
sort of tend to be talking about them but not calling or trying to interact with them, they do tend to do things.
Right, okay.
And that sounds weird, but it's true. Many a times I've been doing things in here and I've not been talking. I've been talking about them, but not to them.
Right.
They'll be carrying me away. But like I was saying, Fright Nights was, there was 7 of us in here and we was in a little circle. And it was quite strange because I was a complete and utter sceptic. I said to you, you couldn't tell me that there was a thing called ghosts. I mean, I've got an interest because of what my mum had told me. Ellie.
Okay, so we are looking at the EMF meter right now, and please, Amy, just double check what I'm doing. There is no power source anywhere near this.
No.
And I am not kidding you. There is no power source anywhere near this. Wow, that is really strange. Okay, now also you've look at that fluctuating. You've also mentioned a name, but we're going to go into that right now as you go through your experience.
Right, so like I say, you can tell me there was sort of ghosts or anything. We were in a circle and we saw flashes of light, like little flashes of light, and I was like, what the hell's that? And next thing we know, little girl, about 5-6 years old, she got dirty blonde to light brown hair, little white dress on, but I'll never forget that she got no shoes on. And we were all, 7 of us took out, asked what we'd seen. We all said the same thing. Then about 15 years later, the last grotto, because I look after the grotto during Christmas, the last grotto we did, which is in the building next door to this, we I come in 6:30 in the morning, walked in, and the building's strange because to get the back set of lights on, you have to walk. You put the first set of lights on, but then you have to walk through a darkened passage to get to the next set of lights.
Yeah.
And I was walking through, and there's a ramp that goes up into the back room, and she was walking, same little girl, no shoes, white dress, just walking up the ramp. And then last year in the grotto, I walked in again. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning, and she was in the bats. She was behind the bats. We've been told by mediums, her name's Ellie, and that she was here sometime in the 1400s, probably a servant. We've got no records of her. But she's known for poltergeist activity because she will move things, and she is very, very attracted to lights, and she will move the lights up and down.
So when you saw her, was she solid?
Yeah, it's as solid as you are to me now.
I mean, we've both just sat here and you've seen this.
Yeah.
I've got an EMF meter just registering and clocking away. There is literally hardly any reading now. You might have heard my camera clicking off, and I've been taking a few photos. This thing has been going mad. Literally at the time that I pulled my sleeves down because I've got really, really cold. And anybody who knows me knows that I'm not really partial to getting
you said
cold.
earlier about you've got an EMF meter with you.
Yeah.
She's heard that. She knows the lights.
That is amazing.
And
You've seen her more than once.
I've seen her three
three
times. 3 times now. But she will respond when we're doing ghost nights.
Yeah.
She will respond, and she uses lights. I mean, at Christmas, she'll move things in the grotto like teddy bears. And back in the 80s and 90s, where our bat enclosure is, that was actually a castle gift shop, and things would move in there. The teddy bears would move. I told you the story of the big key racking that went right across the what's it, and my friend who worked right across the building, there was no wind in there, it just went across. That was a story that was mentioned on Most Haunted when they did the live here. There's also my friend who used to work in them, or I should say friend, he's more of a memento. He used to work in there, Jay Cooper, and he'd done a display of jams, and the whole lot was took off a shelf and placed on the floor. The building was locked, there was nobody in there. And you've been in there, it's flagstones, if they'd have fell, they'd have smashed.
Yeah, no damage at all.
No.
I want to talk about something that we spoke about earlier, and this fascinated me straight away because you mentioned it in the historical aspect before we even started. Then I've got you to speak about it again. But we interviewed Richard Felix a while ago, and he spoke about the stone tape theory, which you are a very, very big believer in.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something to me that absolutely blew me away, which was, I did not realise the water source, because we were talking about silica, water, you store data on microchips and stuff. I had no idea about the water source. And when you said that to me, that was big kind of eureka moment. So that is why you would say that this is probably a very, very strong proponent of the stone tape theory.
I really believe in that. I've spoke to other people who don't believe it, but I'm a massive fan of the stone tape theory because there is nothing more natural in this world than this stone.
Yeah.
I mean, this stone, behind you, we've got one of the stones from the Priory. That stone dates from 1100.
And I've seen this stone, by the way, and it's got an engraving on it.
It was the keystone over the Priory. You know, you're sat on a limestone ridge.
Yeah.
You've got water under you. There's got to be a reason that places like this have hauntings.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of the stone tape theory, that energy is recorded. Like you say, data.
Yeah.
Something triggers it to replay. That's what the Grey Lady is, 100%. She never interacts. You see her, she does what she does and goes.
It's very, very strange that the Grey Lady doesn't interact, but the little girl does. The little girl.
But I think she's an intelligent. Richard Felix actually put this really well when he was here at Dudley Castle, and it's one of the things I've stuck with in my head. You'll never hear of a caveman haunted.
Yeah, he spoke about this with us.
You'll never hear of a caveman haunted. Why? Religion.
And there was no fear, yeah.
There was no fear.
Yeah.
People didn't think about purgatory and things like that.
No.
As you move through time, religion comes about. People are scared to death.
Yeah.
That if they've done something wrong. And I think some people stay. Their spirits won't move on, they stay.
Yeah.
Stay where they are. Maybe it's because they loved a place, or maybe it is that fear that something is going. Those legs.
Yeah.
Stone tape.
Yeah.
Something's triggered that to play.
Yeah.
And that's the coffin dates from 1321.
Now, there was a fascinating sighting that you spoke to me earlier about that, and that involved who
It was. Did we not record this? No?
I'm not sure about it. I'm not.
So
I
back
don't think we did,
just
no.
after these coffins because these coffins were actually. The big one was found down at Dudley Priory. Smaller one was found to local church. But both coffins were then housed in Priory Hall. Priory Hall then got turned in the 90s into the registry office, marriages, births and deaths. It was decided it wasn't a really good thing to have two coffins when you're going to register a marriage or a birth. So they decided to bring the coffins up to here.
Right, okay.
Okay. The big coffin, we believe, belonged to John de Sumry, who was one of the barons of Dudley. He actually finished building the keep back in the 1300s. Now, when these coffins were first moved up here, this room was different. You could actually come in here every single day to watch a little film about the history of the castle.
Okay.
And a cleaner was sent up after a busy bank holiday Monday, and she was hovering away. Suddenly looked up to the bottom end of the coffin and saw two legs with riding boots on.
Yeah.
Now, she was quite used to the then castle keeper coming in costume. So she just thought, oh, it's him. And she was like, morning, Adrian. Then looked up a bit further and there was nothing above the legs.
These legs were solid?
They were solid in there. Now, she made a bit of a fuss. Her sister, who was cleaning as well, came in and said, what on earth's going on? And she says, there's two legs in the coffin, there's two legs in the coffin. She took her sister down to calm down to the restaurant. They sent people up to have a look when she recounted this story of what had gone on. And they couldn't find anything in this room. You can see this room. Yeah. There's not a lot of places you can hide.
No, there isn't.
There was nothing in this room. Those legs, something's triggered that to play.
Yeah.
And I think that was stone tape theory. I think that,
Fascinating.
and I heard that. So it's one of the things that got me into all the paranormal around the castle. I was always into the history, but this is one of the things, because that lady was, through marriage, related to my mum, and my mum told me the story because her mum had, my nan had said to her, you'll never guess what's happened at Dudley Castle. And she'd recounted the story, but that 100% would have been a stone tape.
Well, we covered the bit that I was going to talk to you about Richard Felix and the stone tape theory, but you mentioned something to me before we started recording, and these are the wonderful nuggets that, as a podcast, a show like this, you are after these kinds of things all the time. And you mentioned an absolute blinder earlier on, and it just goes to show that it's not just people that can appear as ghosts, but it's also animals. Would you kindly tell us about the sighting that happened, obviously a long time ago, with a specific animal?
Okay, so very first zoo curator, head zookeeper at Dudley Castle was a guy called Harry Hatch. And he actually lived in the little cottage, which is just down the way. And he raised loads of animals, 100 loads. By far, though, his favourite was a cheetah.
Okay.
He was called Sylvia.
Yeah.
And he'd take her everywhere with him. They actually appeared on Blue Peter back in the early days of Blue Peter, and she bit his hand live on air.
Right.
And I've tried to get, as I said to you, I've tried to get the footage, but apparently it was live, so it wasn't recorded.
Yeah.
However, Sylvia was his favourite, and he used to walk her, exercise her in the castle courtyard, and we've got pictures. We've got pictures of local dignitaries coming and stroking her and things like that. I'll let you have one of the pictures.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
When it come time to put her in an enclosure, wouldn't, kept her in the cottage, and like I say, exercise her up here. And then when she died, she was actually buried next to the cottage. She's in the garden area, which is to the side of the cottage. And but what my very first ghost night, it was a group called Eerie Evenings. They were doing one of their first up here. And I took the group down to do a history tour. I've gone down to the cottage, and I'd left the medium and the main host in the grounds.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they come belting down, and I'm like, one of your big cats is out. We've just seen a big cat running through the middle of the... And I went, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So on the phone to my boss, I'm like, boss, and he was like, right, I'm coming on. So he come on, checked all the enclosures, nothing out, nothing unlocked, nothing everywhere. And he comes up to me, and he was like, told him what had happened, and he goes, oh, it's Harry's cat.
Harry's cat.
And I went, what? He goes, Harry's cat. Harry's cat. He says he's been seen before, running around the courtyard. Stone tape. The stone tape.
I just find that amazing. Again, no, the beep, just to let you all know, it was the EMF meter switching itself off. That wasn't anything doing it. That is just that story absolutely encapsulates everything about this place.
Yeah.
It's not just people. It's not just going back hundreds and hundreds of years. You've even got a cheetah roaming around.
I mean, there's other stories people have often heard where the old elephant house is.
Yeah.
Have you heard? Because back in the day, they'd tether the elephants with the chain, and people have heard the chain.
Wow.
I mean, we had elephants here since 2003, but they'd hear the chain. That's been reported many times. And the reptile house, I can tell you a good one about the reptile house, because I was doing a ghost night, towards the end of before I retired from ghost nights. And there was a group up here, a new group, and they come on. The hosts come on a little bit before to get a feel for the place and set some stuff up, because I wanted to put like a drum where the drummer boy archway was and things like that. And I was in the castle, and medium from the group comes up, he goes, is there anybody working in there? And I went, where? He was there. I went, oh, the reptile house. He says, there shouldn't be, because there's only me on site to host this. And he went, oh. He says, because I've just seen a man standing by that first enclosure through the main door. You could see the first thing. He says, I've just seen a man. And I went, no, there's nobody on. And he went, no, I've definitely seen a man. So again, on my phone, I'm like, boss, are you medding anything? Have you come on to medicate anything?
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I'm sat on the settee at home.
Yeah.
He says, my wife's away, I'm looking after the kids. And I went, all right. He said, go and check. He said, go and check. Go. So I went down, checked the back door. Back door was locked. Everything, nothing disturbed. So I found the header section, the reptile header section. Because she lived at the time just outside.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're not on site, are you? And I went, no. I said, you're not in the reptile. No, I'm not. I'm at home. And I says, hang on, I'll come up with the keys so we could walk through. And so we went through, walked through. Nothing there at all. But one of the monitor lizards was like up the glass, which was quite rare, because she was like, that's rare for him to do that.
Yeah.
He was up the glass like that. And she came in, speak to the medium. And I says, can you tell me what you saw? I said, man in green, bald head. That's why I thought it was my boss, because he's man in green, bald head, keeper. And I was like, there's nobody in there. I could tell you there's nobody in there. Because he was standing looking in the first enclosure. And I went, okay. A couple of weeks before all this had happened, she was working late. They were redoing the floor, so they were staining the floor. There was her husband, who's one of her, as the head of the gardens, and one of her junior keepers was all working late. She thought it was them, but then the two of them were outside. The two lads were outside in the quarantine area, which is completely outside, and she'd been staining the floor, and she felt someone grab the back of her t-shirt.
Yeah.
So she was like, she went outside to have a go at him, and I was like, we haven't been in the building, but he probably grabbed her shirt.
Wow.
So we think, I mean, there's been reports in there anyway of things like something called the key jangler, when people are working in there November, December, when the zoo's really, really quiet. They can be working there on their own, and they'll hear a set of keys jangling.
Yeah.
So they automatically think it's a member of staff coming through, but it's not. There's nobody there.
Are there any areas of the place that the public can't access? And can you talk about some of those areas? Yeah. Unfortunately, today, we're not going to be allowed in those areas, down to health and safety. There's a lot of work going on and things like that. But, could you talk about a few of them?
There's areas of the castle that aren't, at the moment, I will say at the moment, accessible because of health and safety.
Yeah.
There's a problem with stone because of the weather and because of other issues. We've got a problem with some of the stones, particularly in the Shavington range, coming down.
Yeah.
So they are locked off for that reason. The secret areas you're on about, I mean, we've got a lot of caverns underneath us, and one of the places I would love to go are the caverns that are underneath us, because one of them is called the World War II cavern, and it's set out with offices underneath. That's down at the bottom opposite where our camels are currently. During World War II, they used to run the ammunition train into it, but it's in offices, and I'd love to get down there. There's also where the chairlift is. There is a cavern behind there. Unfortunately, it's flooded, but I'd love to get in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't get in, but do you have access to get in them, or is it a case of there is no access to get into them?
Yeah, there is access to get into them. The problem is there's a lot of bats in there.
Okay.
Because one of the caverns over at Wren's Nest collapsed and the bats migrated down. The one behind the chairlift is actually flooded halfway through.
Yeah.
So that's full of water. But the World War II tunnel, you can.
That is amazing.
You can, and people do. I'd love to do a ghost walk hunt down there.
That is amazing. We spoke about tunnels.
Tunnels, yeah. Well, the local legend is that there is a tunnel that runs from Dudley Castle down to Dudley Priory.
Yeah.
Which would be a heck of a tunnel.
It would.
If it's been done. But it wouldn't. It will make sense because you would want either an escape route and straight down to the Priory.
Yeah.
That's never been discovered. Whether it's there or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Two tunnels that I do know are definitely here. There's a tunnel between the two Barbican at the front gate. So they'd have been used to move soldiers.
Yeah.
That was discovered. That was rumoured for many years, then discovered in the 1980, 1990 digs. They found that tunnel.
Yeah.
The other tunnel is where the Warder's Arch is, and it's the one that Jacob would have used to move underneath to get to the Warden's Tower, the East Watch Tower in the sandpit area now. That, unfortunately, that has collapsed halfway across because they put the steps in the 1800s.
Okay.
So that collapsed halfway across. However, there is still access, and there is Ed Felix. Felix.
Yeah, Richard Felix's
the youngest
son, yeah.
one of the Felix brothers. I think it's Will actually went down and across and came back.
Right, okay.
Many years ago.
You also mentioned earlier on that you literally bumped into something and you saw a door.
Oh yeah, back in there's a report about the castle from a guy called Harold Breakspear. And on it, there's something called the Screens Passage. And I was like, I really want to find out where this... But there was work done in the 80s to open what was the visitor centre to Castle Creatures up, and it was blocked off. And I really wanted to find this Screens Passage. And they were doing some work in the plant room, what we call the plant room now.
Yeah.
And there was a door, and I was like, I've never been through that door. And one of the guys went, well, I got the key if you want to have a look. I looked, opened up, and there's the Screens Passage. I was wow. But yeah, so that was this castle. The history on this castle is so immense, and it never fails to surprise.
Yeah.
And you find something new out every day.
That brings me to my next question. What originally drew you to this castle? And we spoke earlier about even you as a little and as a teenager, both as a historian, but also as a person who has such a vested interest in the paranormal. What draws you to this, even as a youngster?
I think it's ingrained in blood. I mean, I'm well known for upping the walls and getting in when I was a youngster. I used to get into trouble for it all the time. I used to, like every Dudley kid did.
Yeah.
You'd come over one of the walls for a free day out. But I never went to the zoo. I always came to the castle.
Okay.
And the history on it is, you would take 2-3 layers of the history of this building off it.
Yeah.
And it is just immense. It's like I say, think who's walked through the courtyard.
Yeah.
You're walking in the steps of history.
Yeah.
You know, and as a historian, and the more you dig into the history of it, the more you love it. The more you find, the more you want to find more and more and more.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said to you, probably one of the most underrated barons we had here, John VI. When you look at his history and the people he was associated with, and he was here, and he lived here,
yeah.
He was born here, he died here.
Yeah.
And Dudley was such an amazing historical place that's what attracts me.
Yeah.
And I love learning, I love finding out about things, and this gives me the perfect opportunity. Like I said to you, you find something new every day about it, and you do a little bit of digging. I told you about Graham, who was the medium.
Yeah.
And he said to me, I'm picking up on the name Gaunt, and I was like John of Gaunt.
Yeah.
And he went, there's no link between us and John of Gaunt, nothing at all.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, okay. He goes, I'm not changing it, it's Gaunt. This is a medium that I really trust. And I was like, right, I'm going to do a little bit of digging. And he took me loads to dig through the history, because a lot of the records, as I said to you, are in Staffordshire.
Yeah.
So it took me a lot of digging. But one of the baronesses, her second husband was Maurice de Gaunt, the Gaunt connection.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that blows my mind.
Because, we were talking about this earlier. That is something that you have... there aren't many people that are going to be able to dig down. If the records are only held over there, there are only a select few people that are going to be able to get to that kind of information
and
anyway.
I mean, that's what attracts me for the paranormal side, but also as a historian, because then I'm like, oh, we got a baroness who's got a second husband.
Yeah.
What's his family?
Yeah. You're linking history to the ghost stories, if you like.
But that's what I personally think you should do. You can't have a ghost story without backing it up with history. I know some people will differ with me, but you can't have a true ghost story without a proper history link.
Well, I certainly think Richard Felix would back you up on that point as well.
I mean, there is absolutely no way. I mean, I said to you before, I've I've seen good mediums and I've seen some very, very shocking mediums. And one of them tried to tell me Lady Jane Grey was haunting the courtyard. Mary Queen of Scots was here, and somebody was being, Eudes Spencer the Younger was being executed on the keep. And I'm like, Lady Jane, there is no written evidence to say that Lady Jane Grey ever come anywhere close to Dudley.
Okay.
Okay, her nearest place to here was Leicester, possibly Leicester.
Yeah.
And even that's debated now.
Yeah.
That she was born at Leicester, but it's debated now that she was born in London. She wouldn't have come here. Mary Queen of Scots, this was like inspected as a possible prison for her. There was a Tutbury. They were thinking of moving her here. They didn't, because the building was in too much of a disrepair. It would have took too much. A lot of big Catholic houses in the area as well. So they decided to move her to Chartley. Then she went to Fotheringham Way, where she was executed. And Eudes Spencer, yes, he did hold the castle for about a year, but he was executed in Evesham. So this medium had obviously been on the internet going, oh, no, yeah, I'll make a story up about that. Nobody's going to know.
Not knowing that the historian is here.
My thing about it is people are paying their hard-earned cash to come on ghost walks.
Yeah.
They deserve the real stories.
Of course.
And if you can't back it up, I'll go toe-to-toe with anyone on the history of this place.
Yeah.
Anyone. But if you can't back that up with history, then you know what I mean? I don't believe it's true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I've had, like I said to you, I've heard some really, really good, I've had some really good mediums here, some real stellar mediums, and I've had some real shockers.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I'm very much known to actually tell people, I'm like, no, that day happened.
Yeah.
No. And like I said to you earlier, I'll go toe-to-toe with anyone on the history of this place.
It's from my point of view, sitting here with yourself in this environment, in this room, it's an absolute pleasure to talk to someone with this much passion about where they work, not only because of where you work, but because of that history, because of these paranormal stories and the legend and the folklore, if you like, and all of these potential people that did come here. The importance, as you said, of who were walking the grounds of this place, these massive historical figures that were in Dudley.
Yeah.
I think you actually mentioned to me a little bit earlier that Birmingham wasn't the place.
No. I mean, the Baron of Birmingham, or the Birmingham, had to default it to the Baron of Dudley.
Yeah.
I mean, Dudley was seen as you're in central England, even more so than Birmingham.
Yeah,
central.
you are.
You're in central England. This little place of ours was a powerhouse. I mean, we started the Industrial Revolutions. Newcomb's engine was here.
Yeah.
You know, we were at the forefront. This place was and is historically so important.
Yeah.
And people should know about its history. And like I say, Birmingham was like, still think it personally, but that's me. But Dudley was central too.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put anything, any major historical event in England, and somewhere along the line there'll be a connection here.
Yeah.
You know, like I say, John Sutton VI, brought the body of Henry V home from France when he died.
Yeah.
He saw 87 years of history from here, from Dudley. He was born here, he died here. He was a major figure, a diplomatic figure. I mean, kings absolutely loved him.
Yeah.
I mean, Richard III, Henry VII, Henry V, and he was close friends with Henry VI. You know, he was the great steward of England. He looked after the royal finances.
Yeah.
He was a major person, and he was here.
He was here in Dudley Castle.
I mean, even going back, there's a baron called William Percival.
Yeah.
And he had a son called Nicholas. And I've been doing a lot of digging on finding who Nicholas's mother was. And it turns out she's one of the biggest Irish legends in
Wow.
Roes de Verne. She's one of the major Irish legends. After William died, Henry III arranged a marriage to one of the Irish magnates. She was a second wife.
Yeah.
He'd already got children. Her children kept her name, Verdun. She built Castle La Roche over in Ireland.
Yeah.
She was known to ride out in full armour, and when her second husband died, she refused to remarry and became a femme d'homme, which means she was her own person. She was allowed to...
Yeah.
She was here. She was in this castle.
That's
She's one of the biggest Irish female legends.
So that's that strong Irish connection as well here.
Here at Dudley Castle. Her first husband was William Percival de Sumray. I mean, how amazing is that?
Yeah. It is absolutely, utterly fascinating. If you sat here right now, you've graced me personally, and you're going to be gracing all of our listeners, and it's been an absolute treat. People never visited Dudley Castle before. Yourself, what would you say to them? Why should they come to Dudley Castle?
The history, for the absolute history of this building. You other castles in this country, they've got history. This has got... this was probably one of the first castles that was converted to stone.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so important. It was known as the Castle in the Woods. It's got legend to it. It's got myth to it. It's got folklore to it. Come listen to what the history of it. I mean, even if you don't want to come, get the books out, read the books, because you'll be amazed at what has happened in this castle. Amazed.
Yeah.
And the links it's got, like I said, possibly every historical event, you can put some kind of link to here.
Yeah.
Especially with the barons. I mean, the barons were... John de Sumray, knighted with Edward II at the Feast of the Swans and dressed from the royal wardrobe. I mean, this man was up there. He was known as a true, of the king, a true supporter of the king. And he was here.
I mean, so there you go. It's got everything.
It's got everything.
It's got everything.
You've got a zoo as well.
Yeah, you've got the zoo.
90 years of Dudley Zoo in 2 years' time. I mean, you've got everything.
Yeah.
And it's just a pleasure to explore it. And like I said to you, I learn something new every day. Every day.
It's the best way to live, isn't it?
Very, very wise person said to me many years ago, he said, when you think you know everything, walk through the door and don't come back, because that's when you get complacent. And I've always lived by that, and I find something new out every day.
It's absolutely refreshing. We're going to call a close to this section of the interview, but we've got a real treat now, because we're probably going to grab a quick coffee or something.
Yeah.
And then Amy's going to actually take me on a bit of a personal visit around some of these areas where some of these paranormal activities taken place. And we're going to have a little bit of a chat. It's going to be windy because it's blowing a gale outside at the moment. So we've got a bit of weird weather.
Storm Amy.
Yeah, Storm Amy. There you go. So we should be back very soon. Thank you so much.
No worries.
And that brings us to the end of part 2, but there's still more to come. In part 3, Amy takes me out on location around the castle itself and its grounds, visiting some of the areas where spirits and ghosts are said to roam. We also explore spaces rarely discussed and in some cases rarely seen, as we step directly into the places where so many of these stories originate. Join me for part 3, where history and hauntings meet face to face.